Oh, hello there. How are you doing today? I'm glad you're here. Now that you're here, let's take a little time to talk about our story. Today, I want to take you to a very important city at a very important time for perhaps the most important week in the history of the world. These walls are the walls of Jerusalem, the city of God, the city where the temple was built. Originally, the temple was built by Solomon, but of course it had been destroyed and rebuilt a couple of times by today's story. But for today's story, the temple was in existence, and this altar represents that temple to us and reminds us of the sacrifices that were being made there and of the special way that God was present with His people in Jerusalem, this wonderful city that was built at the top of the hill in a place called Mount Zion. There were homes inside where people lived in community. But our story isn't just about the people who lived in Jerusalem long ago. It is also about the people who traveled to Jerusalem at special times of year. In particular, we are talking today about a time of year known as the Passover. In the springtime, when things were starting to grow again, and the world was coming back to life. Maybe you know about the Passover. The Passover was the time when Israel celebrated their deliverance from Pharaoh and Egypt, the time when Moses led God's people out of Egypt and began the journey to the Promised Land. Every year at Passover, this was remembered. Every year at Passover, pilgrims journeyed and traveled to the great city of Jerusalem to celebrate with their families, with their nation, the Passover of God. And they looked forward to a time when God would again restore His people and His kingdom. You see, the temple was there in Jerusalem, but Jerusalem did not rule itself. It was ruled by the Romans, and we'll see more of their impact as we go through this week. But as Jesus and His disciples were approaching the city of Jerusalem, and they were to an area known as Bethany and around the community of Bethpage, Jesus called for two of His disciples, and He told them to go into the city and to find a colt, a young donkey, for Jesus to ride into the city. He told them that they would find a donkey, told them where to look. It would be just outside the house. And He said to them, if anybody asks what you're doing taking the donkey, just tell them the Master needs it. So, these two disciples went into town and they found, just as Jesus said they would, a donkey. They began to untie that donkey and to take it away. And the owner of the donkey came out and said, "What are you doing?" Well, they told the man just what Jesus had said. The Master needs it. And he said, well, okay. And so Jesus' disciples took the donkey and led the donkey back out to Jesus. Now, there was a great significance to this. Jesus was fulfilling prophecy, and Jesus was acting like a king to ride an animal into town. And so, as those who were watching saw Jesus riding into town on a donkey, they were inspired. And they acted as if Jesus must be the coming king. People took out their outer garments and put them on the road, because certainly a king's donkey shouldn't walk on plain ground. And then people ran out and found palm branches and came and waved them. And as they waved the branches, they said, "Hosanna! Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna! Hosanna! Blessed is the coming kingdom of our father David." And the palm branches as well were placed on the ground on which Jesus and his donkey passed. People were worshiping. People were excited. Hosanna was a word of praise, a word of hope, a word of worship. You see, the people were longing for another king like David. The people were longing for another prophet like Moses. And when they saw Jesus riding into Jerusalem at the beginning of Passover week, they thought to themselves, "This must be the one." Would you say it with me? Hosanna! 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 Jesus' entry into Jerusalem at the beginning of the Passover week was a time of celebration, a time of excitement. But things wouldn't stay this way all week. But we'll have to get to that another time. Until we do, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you. May the Lord be gracious to you and give you peace.